The VR player needs a widget interaction component so that it can receive data from our motion controllers and interact with the navigation menu. Once it can detect the controllers, we'll develop logic to handle a button press on the navigation map. Start inside our BP 3D map. Add a widget interaction component and change the interaction source to custom and show debug for now. Create a new function named receive custom hit. Add an input of type hit results, and we'll finish the rest of this function shortly. Inside our VR pawn, at the end of our check map timer event, we'll add a branch that will be decided based on if our map is visible and active. If it is, we want it to set a new timer and send that custom hit to the map blueprint. Set this timer up the same way as the previous one and promote it to a variable. The event we want to call is a new function named use motion controller to interact with map. We're going to be using a line trace by channel to get us the data we need to send to the widget interaction component. We'll set the data of this line trace based on which hand is currently active, and then call the receive custom hit function inside of BP3D map. For our blueprint to know which hand is active, and by active I mean most recently had their trigger pressed, we need to add a function to our pressed branch. Create a new function named user pressed trigger. It will have two inputs, both booleans. First one is pressed, and the second is right trigger. We will have this function called from both hands in both pressed and released. If pressed, we'll set our new right hand is active variable to whichever hand has called this function, and that by itself will switch our line trace logic from our earlier function. We need another function to inform the widget interaction component that we are clicking. Create another function named send input to widget. Add one bool input and connect it to a branch. If true, add a press pointer key from your widget interaction component. And if false, add a release pointer key. Set both keys to left mouse button. Add send input to widget into the user press trigger function with the bool values properly set. Do the same with the user press trigger to the input branches. Let's test this in VR. After we spawn the map, we can see the debug line feeding from our motion controllers, and I am able to switch hands based on the last trigger press. And if I press the trigger on a button in the widget, the button function variable is printing to the screen. Very cool. Okay, I want to add our cursor quickly and get rid of this debug line. Create a new widget with a size box as the root and add an image to the hierarchy. Just a simple box for now will work great. Add this widget to the Scene Widgets component inside of BP3D map. This part is very important. We must make sure that any cursor we are using has collisions turned off. Otherwise, it will receive the hit from our pawn and not the menu as intended. We don't want to see the cursor unless we are pointing at the map. Break the hit result from the receive custom hit function and add a branch. The condition being that there is a blocking hit and the hit component is navigation menu. If true, make it visible. If not, hide it. After true, we want to have it move along with our hit so it acts like you would expect a cursor to. Add a set world location and rotation node from the cursor and set the location from the impact point. Make rotation from X from the impact normal and plug that into the rotation. One more test. And now we have a cursor and we are interacting with the 3D widget. We now have the logic in the VR pawn to interact with the navigation map. Next, we look at exporting graphics from Adobe Illustrator and develop the navigation map's point of interest in UMG.